Hello, Taki traders. Welcome to the 18th of June. The stock market's had a nice little recovery from the earlier sessions of where it a bit of a pullback was expected. The drop last week really on the radar. I did talk about how it was time to pull out some profits towards the end of last week and put it into some gold. If you'd done that, would have done pretty good. And by that I mean the gold companies themselves. That said, today, looking at some of these results, Perseus has come back. Still a strong buy from me, looking at the future gold price and Perseus mining itself. And New Zealand has come off a little bit. They had some results. Obviously, still concerns about ongoing air travel. It looks like a good price. They're over $3, but I'm waiting. If I see some much lower price, then I'll consider. Other on the markets, as you can see, everything's down, but not by too much. And a lot of these negatives are just gains that have been given up from the week. Nothing too insane. Wiser as well has come down 5% today, but again, that's had quite a good rally over the past 7 days. So overall, sea of red, but nothing too alarming. And when we go to the futures market, you'll see what I mean. Here was our drop off. Now, that was the concern about the second wave and just exactly what that's going to mean for the economies of opening up. Will we go to lockdown? Will demand stay stagnant? How many zombie companies are out there? How many people are going to go back to work? And that is definitely where things are turning to now, is the sort of idea of what will the reshaped economy look like when things are fully open, or as open as they're going to be. And then looking towards 2021. So these markets definitely are supported at the moment by the Fed printing money, essentially, saying it will support bonds and corporate markets as needed, and that has given a floor to the markets. On the left, the ASX200, on the right, S&P 500, not quite mirroring each other, but very much near it. So a bit of sideways chop. I'm expecting another run up here as the outlook continues to not so much improve, but as there's no negative news or overly negative news. Although we're still hearing rising cases of coronavirus, it just seems as if it's not having as much an effect on the market because we're on top of it. There was the talk that a possible steroid treatment has been lifting the survival rates, and also just overall testing, and people overall are getting a handle on this, though not to understate the obvious. People are still dying. There is still a lot of issues. This hasn't just gone away, but the market for the moment seems to be attempting a nice recovery. If we zoom out for the ASX200, for instance, you can see, let's see, you can't even get to where it was, but it's about halfway to heading towards 3/4 recovery of that last drop. So I'm overly still bullish on the market with my shares. Buy and hold still. Would have taken more profits last week, but end of the financial year is next week and didn't really feel like paying capital gains tax. So we'll leave them a bit longer. But I'm still saying that, on the ASX 200, companies have good balance sheets that haven't taken on overbearing debt, and definitely having some exposure to gold companies would be a good strategy to have. Speaking of which, gold itself trade pretty sideways. Silver had this sort of spike up, down, up, down. It's not, I'm off silver at the moment. Happy to look at gold, but you can see this sideways sort of chop again, just bouncing near those fib levels. I've been sticking to my strategy. Any major sort of below 1700 pull for gold, I'm accumulating, but the closer it gets to sort of 1750, and again around here is what I'm happy to sell. If it does rocket up to 1800, I will be looking at short, of course looking for high RSI and double checking the fundamentals on top of that as well. But overall, gold is still going to be a pretty easy investment. Just to worry that there could be some further short-term risk to the downside. So in some ways, holding shares in some of these gold companies could be a nice easy way to just ride out that volatility. Onto the energy market. WTI, it was looking like it wanted to run, break down with an RSI like that, not surprised. And now a bit of sideways as there's demand versus supply, alternate stories, OPEC Plus meeting, and just what amount of cuts are likely to be continued and what level of demand. That said, there are still massive inventories at the moment, but the market doesn't seem as concerned. I honestly would have thought I'd see a bigger breakdown with the level of inventories, but it's still holding strong. But still not breaking that 40 plus mark, which is what a lot of the major producers really want to see. And natural gas still broken down. It had more legs down this week, just that the forecast weather failed to impress. Inventories are quite high heading into the summer. and no extended continuing heat to give any reason to rally. That said, though, with such a low RSI as that, at some point we're going to hit the bottom of this shoulder season, and for the summer there is going to be quite a good rally. Not seeing massive up to $3 or anything like that unless there's some sort of massive supply disruption, but definitely we're looking over 2, and a price point towards 220, 230 would be quite comfortable. That said, with NatGas, it is so volatile. If you are longing here and it gets up to here, consider selling, banking some profits. Watch the RSI, watch the fundamentals. Back onto oil, nice little article on oil price talking about unexpected US gasoline price, and that's what I'm sort of seeing as well. Even if oil drops off a little bit, I still wouldn't be surprised if gasoline itself has a nice spike over summer. So there's a nice easy long to be looked at the moment. And then natural gas here. And I think Natural Gas Intel has it right that here is, we've got starting to rally, that there is increased power burn from the power plants. There is increased risk of continual summer heat, but this may not hit until towards mid to end July. And on top of that, as oil does come back online, production is going to increase as well. So with energy markets at the moment, just one to watch. There is some possibility short-term drop for oil, but also a nice short-term hit for natural gas. However, risk still very much to the downside for natural gas from a technical point of view, and also just from the fact that, again, like oil, massive inventories at the moment. Heading on to the crypto market, I think this is sort of sums up the crypto telegraph, and that's what I've been looking at. It just seems for Bitcoin. So, I mean, we had these little spikes down, but, you know, I was expecting some violent drop down. We just couldn't hit 10, we go back, we just couldn't hit 10. I was expecting, like, we had this here, but, I mean, it was more here. I was expecting something crazy, but no. So I'm with them. I think something with Bitcoin is going to happen. Ethereum looks so good up here. I thought it was going to hold on to these gains when I got around that 250 US mark. Drop down here, sitting again, just sideways trail. Maybe the traders are waiting for the weekend. Maybe once we get this the equity markets rallying again, maybe there could be a sort of rally with the cryptos. We'll see. For the moment, as I've said for the past probably month now, still long on Bitcoin. Any of these drop downs, I'm just accumulating, and my price point for sale is I've got a few different levels, sort of above 10, 10 and a half, 11, 11 and a half, and 12 are the different levels I'm sort of looking at with my different sale orders on. And on the, just looking at a quick altcoin, NEM was a nice, easy, but along this week, when you see an RSI this low, especially for NEM, which is a quite widely used coin, it's pretty easy profits to have there. And then of course, hopefully you would have sold when you saw this RSI. I sold around here. Enough profits. I'm happy with that. And Litecoin, I got in here, took my profits, but I was expecting a little bit more. So I was quite surprised that we didn't see a bigger rally on Litecoin, and I don't know if that is such a good indicator, but once Bitcoin wakes up, and maybe it's this weekend, but at some point it will, and gets over 10, that'll most likely lift the rest of the market. So going into the final trading day tomorrow and into the weekend, what am I expecting? Wouldn't be surprised if we see more greens tomorrow here. I think we're probably looking at a nice, just a nice down the market. I think that, as I said, citing any negative news, the only way is up, and the Feds are showing they're happy to support the market. Gold, unless it's got any reason, is probably just going to continue its sideways motion. And then oil, really, again, at some point this is going to pop, given whether it really wants to get towards 40 with what the producers want, or whether it drops down based on inventories. And for natural gas, it needs a reason to rally, or it's probably just going to continue this bearish short-term momentum. So happy trading. Remember to lock in your profits, because there's only profit if it's in your pocket. And we'll catch you at the end of the week.